Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the Rippin Reptile Podcast from your boys at Predatory Exotics.
This is episode 7 of the Rippin Reptile Podcast. We're almost at double digits. We're getting there. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we have now started to make this a weekly thing. So each week you'll be getting a new episode of the podcast. So we should go up in numbers quite quickly on how many we're making, how many we're producing for you guys. But we hope you are enjoying this. From the feedback, it sounds like you guys are. And we have some hardcore people that like to watch through the whole podcast, which we do appreciate. We do see the numbers and how much some people are watching, which is great. So today's topic is going to be
morphs. We're going to talk about our favourite morphs that we think are the best in the hobby. Some of the more controversial morphs that are banned in some places, depending on when you go. Whether we think some of these morphs are ethical, like would they survive in the wild and stuff like that. And then we're going to talk about if maybe you don't want to sort of get morphs. We're going to talk about some of the different subspecies that you can get of certain species, so that you can get a different, not necessarily a morph, but something
it's like a morph,
different.
but it's not a morph.
Yeah,
it's so like it's something that
it's
looks
like
cooler, but it's an alternative instead. So I don't know if you want to start off for some of our lesser known reptile watchers, if you want to explain kind of what a morph is and how morphs come about.
Yeah, so morphs are basically a different color or pattern variation to your normal. So if you take like a leopard gecko, like 99% of wild caught leopard geckos are going to be a yellow base with the black spots and then maybe a little bit of white on the tail and stuff like that. Whereas, so that's like a dominant gene. And then if you look at like the recessive genes within it, they won't show, but if you happen to find two with the same recessive trait and bred them together, that new color variation would be visible in the babies. So a lot of times people find slight variations in the wild ones, take it out of the wild into captivity and then breed it to try and prove that there's like a different pattern or different color that's going on.
And then kind of years and years down the line, you've got dominant ones.
It's a long process.
Yeah. Especially some of the ones, if you look at some of the morphs, I feel like a lot of people might just take them for granted, but the amount of work that's actually gone in to creating these types of morphs.
People put like years into it, because if you think about, you've got like your wild caught one, you then have to breed it, and obviously if you only have one, the babies aren't necessarily going to show the colour that you want, so you're going to have to breed it again. So you've got to wait to raise up the first lot of babies and then raise them up again, the ones that you've bred, until you've got enough that you can breed it and try and prove it out.
With stuff like snakes, where they're only doing it once a year and you've kind of only got that one shot, and then you've got to
wait 3 years for them to be breeding age until you can breed them. So like some of these projects do take like a decade to actually prove out.
Some people this is life's work right here for some people. Because of course, I feel like it's underappreciated, especially because like if you were wanting a specific morph, you can now just buy that morph and breed it with that morph again, and it's kind of like you've skipped all those beginning steps and you've got the final product.
But that's why like the price varies so much.
Yeah.
Like if you think about like where, obviously if you got it out of the wild and you were one of the first people to have it, it's super expensive. But then if it's been in the hobby for 20, 30 years and people breed it a lot, the price is going to come down.
Yeah.
So it depends what sort of thing you're going for, and then you can stack all the different genes on top of each other to get loads of different pattern and colour. There's just unlimited stuff that you can do with it, really.
Yeah. So I'd say some of them, if we were going to list some of the main heavily morphed reptiles in the community, I'd say probably number 1 is the ball python.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like the amount of research and time that's gone into those, along with stuff like the Crested Gecko.
Well, probably Crested Gecko, obviously they got rediscovered in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
So I think like leopard geckos and corn snakes have probably been longer than Cresties.
So yeah, I guess that kind of puts it into a bit of a perspective. What, it's been 30 years since they were rediscovered again.
What, Crested Geckos?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like 1995.
And so that would have
something.
been 30 years that they would have taken to create some of the morphs that we had today. So I guess that kind of gives you a.
If you think about the lily white, it's only been a couple years. That's why it's still sort of £500 gecko.
Yeah, which I like. I like that one. I'm a fan of it. So that's a bit about what kind of morphs are and where they come from. Our opinion on morphs. Personally, I love morphs. I think they are an awesome thing. For any of our Pokemon lovers out there, it's like finding shiny Pokemon. And I can't wait to actually start projects of our own. I am all up for any morphs that don't necessarily like harm or disabilitate any of the reptiles. What about your opinion on the morphs?
I like morphs. But I don't know if I'm massively into them.
Okay.
So there's obviously, I've got favourites for each one.
Yeah.
That like, so if like ball pythons is the biggest one. I do like bamboo gene stuff. It's a little bit underrated, I think, in the hobby at the moment. But bamboo is something that I really like. And then stuff like the highway.
Are you kidding me? Sorry guys for the technical difficulty every single time.
You were frozen, so I knew it was going to do it.
Okay, we're back.
Yeah, like the highway ball python, it looks like a road because it's got like the dotted line down the middle.
Yeah.
They're
cool.
You
showed me that the other day. Yeah.
But there's just so much variation with morphs. I don't know.
What reasoning do you have for maybe not liking them as much?
I just like the normal stuff.
But yeah, then that's the thing. So it's like I think it's less that you don't like morphs, but more that you like the natural stuff more.
Yeah.
Would you say?
Yeah, like I just like pure stuff.
Yeah, and I like that. That's something I like.
People get into it with like, I find it quite interesting the difference between like crested geckos and lychee geckos. So you know the giant geckos.
Yeah.
Obviously they're both from New Caledonia, but they've gone like different paths in the hobby.
Yeah.
So like Crested Geckos is like gone down the morph, like all different morphs and stuff. Whereas the giant geckos, they've gone down the like locality route.
Yeah.
So like instead of trying to breed that gecko to have more like pink in it and stuff, which obviously some people do, they're like, oh, this one's got high pink and stuff, but they try and go for that specific island and stuff, which I prefer that, to be honest, because I feel like it's the natural sort of thing.
Yeah.
They do that with like green tree pythons and stuff. They go for like the specific. There's obviously morphs, you can get loads of different ones, but then when people stick to that locality and they keep to that sort of gene pool, it also rockets the price up because you know you're getting something from a specific
pinpoint accurate
population.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. But that's good because it kind of, you need people from both of our perspectives in the hobby to make the hobby what it is, kind of thing.
Because I feel like that like helps with. Have you heard of like the invisible arc?
I have not.
It's basically like Noah's Ark.
Yeah.
But like people. So like because we're keeping them, we're preserving them.
What?
So like,
oh, sorry.
So it's like the invisible Noah's Ark.
But we're keeping people.
No, we're keeping.
Oh, the way that you said that. Okay. I get what you're saying.
So like if something happened to that region, so if like that island off New Caledonia, something happens to
tsunami, gone.
Yeah, tsunami wipes out that island. We would have that specific island locale.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like it wouldn't be mixed with like just normal ones. We'd have like a specific.
Because you could, let's say you're preserving one of those species from the island.
Yeah.
Years later, when the tsunami drains and the island back up and full, you could release them back into their natural kind of like.
And you wouldn't have to release just normal ones. You could release the one that was specifically
for that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I see what you're saying.
Which I think something that's quite cool.
That I do like that. Just the whole preserving thing in general with reptile keeping, I think is a cool thing. But then with the pinpoint, it just goes to show, like, it kind of tells you how many different ones you can get out there. That it's crazy that they can differentiate from island to island.
Yeah, like they can vary a lot between the same species, and then obviously there's like subspecies as well.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about recently.
Yeah, that's a good segue onto subspecies. Do you wanna explain kind of the difference in that?
Yeah. So like obviously you get your species. So like the one we were talking about recently is leopard geckos. So there's obviously the common leopard gecko, but there's 5 subspecies of leopard gecko. So you get like the Eublepharis macularis, which is the genus and subspecies, but then there's like the subspecies.
Yeah.
So the one I've recently found is the Montanus leopard gecko. I think the common name is the mountain leopard gecko.
The one you sent, right?
Yeah. So it's like Eublepharis macularis montanus. So it's got that added bit on the end, and it's basically a subspecies of leopard gecko.
And we have found these for sale nearby.
Yeah, locally.
So that's cool. That's cool.
And it's basically like if you imagined your normal leopard gecko that's yellow with the black spots, the colour looks like it's drained off of it. So that yellow goes to sort of like a whitish colour, with like very faint bands along it, but with the dark spots.
So it can quite easily be mistaken.
Yeah,
for a type of morph.
Like I think I was reading up about it. There wasn't a lot of information on the Montanus one.
Yeah.
But there's an Afghan one as well.
Okay.
Which is one of the 5 subspecies, and it only got classified as a subspecies in I think 1976.
What was it classified as before? A morph?
No, just a normal leopard gecko.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
And to be honest, that one, when you look at it, it's got the exact same colour pattern, everything. It's just like a slightly smaller. They don't get as big as a leopard gecko.
Oh, okay. So yeah, and that's what I mean. That's something like that would be hard to miss. Like it would be, you'd have to be looking out for that kind of thing to find it.
And there's like loads of different things with that, like them reclassifying stuff as subspecies and then proper species.
Do you know of any other top subspecies? Because of course we spoke about the leopard gecko.
Top subspecies,
like some of the more commonly found ones, maybe. I'm new to learning about subspecies. Tom was explaining to me, because of course when he sent through the leopard gecko, I thought it was a morph.
Subspecies I don't really know, but obviously I've told you about the other leopard geckos before that are a separate species.
Yeah,
like the East Indian leopard gecko and stuff. So that's like if you could have a leopard gecko without having a morph, but it's a different species of leopard gecko, which is something I like as well, because you don't have to necessarily get a morph, you can get something else.
Is it, correct me if I'm wrong, but is it kind of the similar thing where you can get the Eastern and the Western hognose? It's both a hognose, but it's 2 different ones.
There'll be different species.
Okay.
They won't be subspecies.
Okay. But yeah, so we found these for sale locally, which is pretty cool for a good price as well. And they were very kind to send us through some photos of the different ones that they've got, and we are interested. We're having a look at them.
They varied quite a lot though. Like they have like 4 available, and 2 of them looked more normally than the other 2. 2 you were like, oh yeah, they're definitely different.
Yeah.
Like they look at like some of the Google images look exactly like them, but then like there's a lot of variation, so they can look more like a normal.
Yeah.
I think it all depends on like the bloodline and stuff like that.
Which is cool. Which is the kind of thing that would be cool to get into.
And you kind of got to trust the person that they haven't.
Yeah.
they haven't accidentally mixed in a normal leopard gecko in with it.
Yeah.
And then like it dilutes the bloodline.
No, I know what you're saying with that kind of stuff. So then moving on to us talking about morphs, and you just previously mentioned we haven't actually discussed this yet that some morphs are banned in certain places. Like the massive show in England is Doncaster Reptile Show, which apparently has some morphs banned, which I was unaware of. So if you want, I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah. So the main one that you've probably heard of is the spider ball python.
Yeah, a commonly disliked one in the community.
A lot of people, especially in the US, dislike it, and now it's banned at the Doncaster Reptile Show.
Is that a recent thing, or is that it's been like that for a while?
That one's been banned for a while.
Okay.
But like last year, they added a few more.
Okay.
Onto it. So that one was banned previously.
Yeah.
Because it's got like neurological conditions.
Yeah.
So it's got like the head wobble and it like corkscrews around, and like obviously some are more severe than others, which is why people don't. Not everyone agrees with the banning of it. Like if you listen to some of the bigger snake breeders, they say that they can breed the wobble so it's less over generations.
Okay.
But that hasn't been proved. Like
it's still a work in progress thing.
You can end up with one, even though it's got two parents that have got like no visible wobble at all. They can have a baby that has got loads of wobble. So that's why people still don't agree with it. And then I think it's the Enigma leopard gecko. And there's, I think it's Enigma or Eclipse. I'm not too sure. If you type in banned reptiles off of the Doncaster show, I think there's a couple leopard gecko morphs on it.
I think this might be the web page. If you want to carry on talking, I'll see if I can.
Another, I think the most recent one they banned is the carpet python. I think it's the jaguar carpet python, which is like a different pattern. It's got a jaguar pattern rather than the normal pattern. And they've banned that for, I think, the similar reasons. They've got problems with it and stuff like that. And then you've got certain ones that if you breed certain morphs together, they end up with certain stuff. I don't think they're necessarily banned, but like there's the cinnamon gene. And if you breed two cinnamons together, you get a super cinnamon.
Okay.
And basically they're born with like loads of defects and stuff, like spinal defects and stuff like that. So you pretty much have to euthanize the animal. And even like albinos with ball pythons. Like if you do a het albino to an albino, it's usually fine.
Yeah.
But if you breed two albinos together, they can end up with missing eyes.
Okay.
Like if you do albino to albino pairing, they can sometimes miss one or both of their eyes.
Like missing meaning there is a space for the eye and there's just no eye there? Or it's just
nothing.
Like as if no eye was even there in the first place?
As if, it wasn't meant to have eyes.
Okay.
And it doesn't necessarily disadvantage the snake. A lot of them are actually, like, they eat fine, they like move around fine. It's just, like, they're supposed to have eyes, so maybe they should have eyes.
There's a video about the banned ones on the Doncaster Reptile Show, which I'm not going to play because I don't want to get copyright striked. There doesn't seem to be any, or if I'm just looking at the wrong spot, there doesn't seem to be a list.
Do you look on
posts
website?
With banned morphs will not be allowed on this page for the Doncaster Reptile Show. Spider royal pythons, jaguar carpet pythons.
Yeah, that's the recent one.
Which I don't know what that looks like. Oh,
that's
pretty cool.
Mutation, but
what's wrong with it?
I think it's the neurological difficulties.
Oh, in terms of like color and let's say this didn't cause any issues for the animal. Cool morph. It looks cool. And then the Enigma leopard gecko.
It's Enigma, yeah.
Which
You can get similar ones to the Enigma though, so that don't have the problems. So that's one of them where you can quite easily.
Enigma syndrome, which is a neurological disorder that affects the balance and cognition of leopard geckos.
But you can get some pretty similar morphs that have the same colour and pattern, so you don't really need to breed that one anyway. Which I suppose is quite good. Like, you're not missing out on.
Yeah, and it says like loads of stuff can activate the trauma of the syndrome. Okay, but so it seems to just be those three that are banned right now, which would be interesting because, of course, that, like you said, it's just a recent one that's been updated, so it means they'll be updating in the future as well. Is there any other ones like that aren't banned at the Doncaster show but are banned in other shows around the world?
I don't really know, to be honest.
I don't know if I can maybe.
Obviously, I mentioned the ones like the super cinnamon and stuff that have issues and the albinos, but like there's ways around that. You don't have to. Like, you don't just breed them two together because you know there might be an issue, so you can breed the hets and stuff.
No, nothing really comes up for that stuff. It's specific shows are banning specific things. So,
but then like there is like people that get like proper pure about it and they just don't agree with any morph.
Yes, which you were mentioning beforehand. If you want to like list some of the reasons maybe that they give for.
Yeah, so a bit like what I said with like they want to keep stuff specific to its location and stuff. Like some people just think that morphs are like not natural.
Yeah.
Like in the wild, like if that was born, it wouldn't make it.
Yeah.
That's why like they're recessive genes that you have to breed them in captivity to like actually get them.
But then
in the what?
Yeah, could you just going off the point that you just said that they wouldn't make it in the wild? Breeding them in captivity, they won't be in the wild. So
yeah,
it's kind of, I could see a fight on that side as well of they won't be going into the wild this morph or anything. It is more I guess it is kind of more just to show, it is to be like, I've got this unique kind of this animal.
It's just like a paint job, isn't it?
Yeah, if you,
that's what
in layman's term, yeah, it is a paint job for your animal.
That's what some people call it. Instead of a morph, they just call it a paint job.
Because that is essentially what it is, and yeah, I think if it's not harming the animal in any way, not causing it any difficulties, then I don't see an issue with that.
Because some people would rather, like, I think us, I'd rather work with more species, and maybe have a couple morphs rather than just. A lot of ball python people just have a ball python and then have loads of different morphs. Like, there's a lot of different ways you can go in the hobby.
I'd say I'm really like quite interested in morphs and looking forward to breeding and making new morphs. And I feel like this is another reason I bring back. I've mentioned this in the podcast before. I feel like this is how our dynamic works well. Is you get both sides from us. So you get Tom talking about the more unique species, introducing you to all of that kind of stuff, and then you've got me more into I'm entertaining the people who are into morphs and wanting to look into getting morphs. So I feel like, but in terms of balance, I feel like we work really well, because if we were just both into the same thing like constantly, then it kind of narrows the target audience, and I feel like we're a bit more spread out. Because we have different opinions and different views on what we like and what we find interesting, which is cool.
Yeah, like I'd definitely rather have like 10 different species of a gecko than just have like 10 different morphs of a crested gecko.
Yeah. No, see, and
I just feel like there's so much.
I'm not like I'm not gonna try and hide it. I am the opposite. I'd rather have all these cool colors for the morphs. But that's what I mean, is we work well, and that's why our reptile collection, I feel like, is gonna be quite a unique one, because you've got two people's perspectives going into the collection.
Yeah, rather than having like two separate people doing two separate things, like it's all combined on one, and you get to see like everything.
One reptile collection with two different people's opinions going into it. I feel like it's going to be a cool collection.
It's a lot different to sort of, I think, anyone else.
Yeah. I see a lot of reptile YouTubers and stuff like that. A lot of them are solo. It is definitely a more of a solo thing that people are doing, and I like that we're kind of not really breaking the mold, but just changing the mold on doing it with two people. Because it means that in the future, guys, you're going to get such a variety of things to watch and see. You've got 1 week. I may have, bred a new a morph of a Crested Gecko, and then the next week you've got Tom being like, "This is a new species like that you might have never heard of," and then I like that as well because you're teaching me at the same time. I don't know if we talked about it much in our first podcast, but I'm quite underknowledged in the reptile thing, and Tom's been teaching me a lot. In terms of just kind of expanding my mind on what there is available, because of course before it was like, reptiles, I could name some reptiles, and then you're suddenly like, yeah, but what about these other 100 reptiles as well? If you know what I mean. It's like, oh yeah, snake, and you're like, no there's not just snake, it's all this kind of stuff, which I like, and it's kind of caused me to fall in love with this hobby, and I'm glad that we are making something.
I think that was one of our first we didn't talk about this. I think one of our first conversations is when you just kept asking me questions.
Yes.
And you asked me like, what's your favourite animal?
Yes.
And I was like, you can't ask that question, you have to say, what is your favourite?
Oh yes, I do remember that. And then you'd say something and I'd have to Google it because I had no idea what he's talking about.
You have to like proper narrow it down. Like, what is your favorite tortoise? Yeah,
and then that kind of expanded the mind. And I'm glad that I'm learning and all this stuff. Like even today, like you're sending me pictures of different reptiles, and I just didn't even know these things existed. Like this subspecies of leopard gecko, I had no idea.
That I didn't even know existed. I just like look for it because I'd rather look for stuff like that and.
But yeah, so in the future, we're going to be hopefully bringing you guys loads of different content. So back to the morphs. Do you have any top favorites of morphs of any animal?
So I'll put it in a different question to you.
Okay.
If you could only have one animal, to have morphs of, what animal would it be?
Oh, okay.
I just flipped the script.
That's a difficult one. I'd have to say Crested Gecko.
Okay.
I have fell in love with Crested Geckos since having one, and I cannot wait to get more in the future and breed them, and have more and have different morphs. I find them really cool. But I'd say a close second would be the hognose. Start breeding into one of my favorite morphs is pastel pink on a hognose, and then like the lavenders and all of that. So that I feel like it is a close second. But yeah, Crested Gecko.
I feel like that's quite a good, because like it's something that's hognoses are rising in popularity. And people don't necessarily know all the morphs that you can get. Yeah. So it's that, I feel like with hognoses, it's in that middle of like, a lot of people have got hognoses now, and they want to take the next step and get morphs of hognoses. Yeah. Whereas like ball pythons, people just get a morph straight away now.
Because a big major thing on why I wouldn't have picked, because I love bearded dragon morphs. I think they're awesome, but the biggest downside to them is the space that you need to keep all of them. You could have 3 Crested Geckos in a 90-90, and in that same space you're keeping 1 bearded dragon, if you know what I mean. But bearded dragon morphs are awesome. So what about you? Which one individual species would you keep if you could only keep one with morphs?
would get a Kenyan sandbar.
Yeah, okay. I knew where that was going.
But even then, like, I'm like, I don't know if I'd.
Because there's a person we follow on Instagram.
There's a few. I've found a few now.
There's one specifically that we follow that seem to have a few.
Because I still don't know if I'd rather have just different species of sandbar.
Yeah.
Because you've got the Kenyan sandbar, you've got Saharan sandbar, you've got the Russian.
But if you had to pick one to keep morphs,
but I would go Kenyan sandbar.
Okay.
Because that's the one that is the most. Like it's been in the hobby long, even though none of them have been in the hobby a long time.
Yeah.
That one's been in the hobby longer. And there's a lot more different species, different morphs of that species.
I don't know if someone's walking in or
not. So like the normal is like.
Oh, and there it is. No. I knew it. I heard them coming.
The normal is like brown and orange, like it is pretty crazy anyway.
Yeah.
But like there's some striped ones, you got like spotty ones, there's tons of different ones that like I'm interested in and I would like to get into it. Because some people don't even know about sandbars, let alone the morphs of sandbars.
Yeah.
So I'd like to get into that.
Yeah. I knew that I could have put money on that was gonna be the guess. Based on just your reaction when we found them in Purple Pet. I've got sandbars. And I know that you're very excited to get sandbar in the future. But yeah, no. So, any other ones that come in top favorites for you, species wise of morphs?
See, I'm just not like. I'm not gonna say ball python because it's just too. Even though it's the broadest.
Yeah.
I'm just like. The species doesn't excite me as much.
I know that there's more with. I feel like you have more specific morphs that you find interesting as opposed to one species with the morphs. It's more
with
like
ball python. I've got like a top 5 morphs that I would,
and so it's like hard
work
to say.
With. And then like corn snake, I've got like 2, like the palmetto that I always talk about, and then that pied. Blood red.
Yes, the blood red is
cool.
one of my favorites.
Because the pie's got like the white belly and halfway up the sides, which is quite cool. Like milk snakes have some quite cool ones.
I don't think I've looked too much into the morphs of the milk snake.
There's not tons, but there's enough that I'd be like, I'd get some cool milk snake morphs.
Yeah, and this is what I'm looking forward to in the future is because it is a bit of a hunt for morphs and stuff like that, especially with around where we are. I don't feel like morphs come and go too often, to be honest. At least not more unique ones.
Like I think some of like we'd probably have to wait till some of the expos,
which we're hoping to go to. Fingers crossed, COVID, go away.
Because if you think like even crested geckos, like. We have found Flame, Harlequin, Dalmatian, Super Dalmatian, and then we've seen the Lily Whites once, but they were really expensive.
Yes.
But I haven't seen any. I don't think I've seen like tricolours, stuff like that. So that'll be.
That's what I mean. Is I feel like going to the expo, we'll find stuff that we didn't even know was a thing, which is going to be exciting.
Like sandboas at the moment, I've only seen. The normals, and what was it? It was like an amelanistic one.
But that's the thing is you might go to one of these expos and they'll have a whole table for just sandboas, which we're hoping to because we're coming towards the end of this podcast. We've got about 10 minutes left. I think we'll talk about kind of we'll give you guys a bit of an update on what we're up to and what's kind of going on. We are hoping to go to the reptile shows.
There's one in April.
in
But I
April.
don't think that is.
The percentage chance I'd say is about like a 30% chance that it goes ahead right now, if not lower. So that one's maybe not going to be.
You're going down. A few weeks ago, you were like it's 60-40.
Yeah, it's dropping. Just mainly because the government isn't saying anything right now. The government is staying quite quiet, and there's not many updates. But hopefully, hopefully it goes long. That would be sick. Even if we are in there for an allotted time, you only get this much time in there. Anything is better than nothing. If
and it's
not,
just we have to travel a long way as well.
Yeah, so that's a 3.5 hour drive for us, if not more, right?
What are you chatting about?
Where we?
It's like 6 hours.
Oh, I'm thinking of Coventry. Oh
yeah.
Yeah. It's a 6 hour drive, so we were gonna do like an overnight stay thing.
6 hours, no break as well, so we'll have to stop. So it's like gonna be like a 7 hour drive.
Yeah, so we were gonna do an overnight stay, which hopefully it does go ahead. If not, we've got is it June?
June is the next one.
June.
And it's like June 19th, 20th.
Yeah, and then September?
September, but I don't think we're going to go to that one.
Okay. Is there any other one? There was...
And then November. If that one
is the highest probability one going right now. And then, of course, the insect shows.
I don't know when that's going to be on this year.
What do you know the actual name of it?
Yeah, they hadn't released it. It's the Southern Invertebrate Show at the Brighton Arena.
Southern Invertebrate Show 2021.
Because I think it's usually the first weekend of November, but this year the Doncaster Reptile Show is the first weekend of November.
Yeah.
So if they do that on that weekend, and they're always on, all the shows are on Sundays, at least here in the UK.
So, it says, but rest assured, 2021 is looking promising with 5+ amazing shows throughout the year for the Invertebrate Shows UK.
So it goes around the country.
Yeah. Traders, booked planning. So they say it's looking good, and that was posted 5th of December 2020. So that was a while ago. They haven't really put an update. But it's just kind of waiting now. That's the thing is, we won't know until close to the time. But hopefully just one thing goes along. I'll be fine with one.
It's still just funny that our first video is like, oh, we're going to Doncaster Reptile Show next month, and then we haven't.
Yeah, that was, oh god, yeah. Was that our first ever video?
Yeah.
We were like, hey, we're going to Doncaster Show, and then COVID hit. I think like COVID hit like the week of as well.
We did that video, and then we had like 2 videos, and then it was like, 2-3
it's been
videos.
cancelled. Try and get the next one a year later now. We still have not gone to a reptile show.
Yeah.
I'm also just excited to get back to going to shops as well.
Yeah, like it's hard. Like a lot of the shops have been good with their
policies.
Like they're still getting, and they're still getting a lot in.
Yeah.
And they're advertising it on their social medias.
They are open. Like we could go to the shops. It's just it's a bit.
We don't really want to take the mic.
Yeah, and especially we're in different households right now, so we're not even supposed to be mixing that. You know, there's just a few things going into it where we're like, it's just we'd be taking the piss a bit if we started going, because our nearest shops aren't close either. The closest one's 40-minute drive, so it's not like we can just nip down the road.
Yeah.
We'd have to have like a day off to go, but hopefully, you know, we'll keep you guys posted on like
and
Instagram
and
stuff
long
like that
until we actually get a big thing going.
and hopefully
Get a big thing going.
yeah, some stuff that we're excited to announce. Just COVID's been postponing it, so I think we're coming up to the end of the podcast. So
yeah, that's fair.
It's been a good episode. We hope you enjoyed listening to us talking about morphs, and maybe kind of gave you guys a bit more of perspective on morphs. And we'd like to know what your opinion is. As you can see, like, we both have different opinions on morphs, and we talked about some other people's opinions, but we'd love to know what your guys' opinions on morphs are, and list what your favorite morph is or favorite species of morphs. Like, that'd be nice to know.
Yeah, I think throw out that question, if you could only keep one species, like the morphs of that species, what species would you keep? Would you keep bearded dragons? Would you keep corn snakes?
Crested geckos. There's a few to choose from, so leave your comments in the comment section below. But without further ado, we hope you guys have enjoyed the 7th episode of the Rippin Reptile Podcast, and we do appreciate all your support, all of the podcast listeners out there. Thank you for listening to another episode of us chatting on about some reptiles. But we hope you guys have enjoyed, and we will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Nice.